We'll begin shortly. We're experiencing some technical difficulties getting the live stream ready for our family over in the Netherlands. So I appreciate your patience while that gets set up.
I can tune the harp a little bit more.
Tune away, Dan.
How much time do you need? How much time do you need?
Just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Just a couple minutes.
Harpists spend half their life tuning, the other half playing attitude.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're ready to get started. Glad you all could make it to the celebration of Nestle's life. I'm Dalton. I'll be hosting, her only grandson. And we're going to get started with a prayer by her son-in-law, Dennis.
O God, our Father, the life of Nestle was a source of inspiration and enjoyment for our hearts and lives. As we celebrate her life today, we are blessed and comforted by your presence. Our hearts sing your praise for the impact of Nestle on all who are here. Strengthen and encourage us through the difficult moments of grief, and we shall forever praise you. Amen. Psalm 23, the Divine Shepherd, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Up next, we have her youngest granddaughter, Madison.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to share with you a letter that I wrote for my grandma before she passed. Grandma, there are so many things that I want to make sure you know, but most of all, I want you to know how deeply I love you, how blessed I am to have you as my grandma, and how much you amaze and inspire me. From the moment I was born, you have been a constant source of unconditional love. Your love has always surrounded me. Your wisdom and stories have shaped me. Your never-ending support has strengthened me, and your sense of humor in all situations brings me so much joy and laughter. We know love because we know God, and as the matriarch of our Moquette family, you have showed us how you love your family. We are all here because of you and Papa. I will never forget how you dropped everything to see every soccer game of mine that you possibly could. You did everything you could to be at every track meet, even the ones in LA, just to see my 2-minute race. And sometimes it wasn't even to see me succeed, because we all know I had some races that I wasn't proud of. But it was to be there for me and support me no matter what. Your calls and voicemails, your sweet texts with all of your heart emojis, your hugs and kisses, your Dutch happy birthday songs, and your encouragements have meant so much to me for my entire life. The many memories we have together, I will always treasure and carry with me as a constant reminder of the profound impact you've had on my life. The Bible says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Your love has always reflected this love, God's love, and it is such an inspiration to me. I love the way that you see all people as children of God and love them all so purely. I love how even when we're the ones worried about you and asking how you are, you're always the first to ask how we're doing. And you have one of the most amazing hearts I've ever met, and you inspire me to show that same kindness and love to others as you have already lived out for your entire life. You have always faced life with such courage. From growing up in scary times during World War II, to marrying Papa and immigrating to a country far away that you'd never been to raising 3 girls and a ton of animals, to beating breast cancer, to then going through losing the love of your life, to literally working at the bank into your early 80s, to far surpassing doctors' predictions with PVOD, and so much more. I've been able to see and hear how you have faced the many challenges life has thrown, and it's truly inspiring how you always took them head on without fear. The way you have always been so grounded, the way you have lived life to the fullest, the way you have lived your whole life with an unwavering faith in God, it truly amazes me. You find the goodness in it all, God's goodness. I love how challenges you went through, you let God use for good. Like with breast cancer, you then joined and co-led the cancer support group for many years. Your empathy and love has touched many people's lives and helped so many people through their toughest times. There is a reason why you're surrounded by so many friends and family, and it's truly a testament to the amazing person who you are. I don't know many people who are as close with their grandma as we are, and I feel so blessed that we are. When you say that I remind you of yourself and call me a firecracker, it is truly one of the biggest compliments. I love how you pulled your daughters out of school so they could see your dog Annette have puppies. I love how you text me your commentary during Warriors and USC games. I love how we have fun together even when we're doing chores, like the many months we had moving you out of your house in Pleasanton. I love how you volunteered for countless things. And I love when I get to come spend time with you, and I feel so grateful that I have never lived more than a drive away. One of the happiest memories from Jackson and my wedding was that you were there celebrating with us. Your willpower and determination to be there for that day means the world to me. You looked beautiful. When I looked at some of Jackson and my first dance photos, the one thing that stood out to me was that you were on the side of the dance floor with the biggest smile on your face. Thank you for loving Jackson so well and for welcoming him in as another grandchild of yours. You are one of the people I care about the absolute most on this earth. Sorry. Have a Kleenex. Sorry. I'll be honest. I cry just at the thought of the day I can't come visit you, or hear your voice, or give you a hug, or hear your stories, or see Samson lay right at your side and give you kisses, or celebrate the holidays together. I've never had someone so very special to me pass. The only thing that helps is the hope God gives us in heaven, and I'm very thankful that this won't be the last time for any of those things. I will see you and Papa again in heaven. I will hug you and kiss you and hear your voice again. And until that day we reunite in heaven, I will be reminded every day of you, your love, and all the amazing memories together. As you always say to me, I love you more than you will ever know. Thank you for being the most wonderful grandma I could ever have. Love, Madison.
Thank you, Madison. Now we're going to have Claire play an excerpt on the cello. We're going to set up that. So just thank you for your patience while we set that up.
So this is supposed to be a very long piece that Grandma asked me to play. And I'm just going to play a short piece of it.
Thank you, Claire. Now I'm going to join Claire because at Nestle's request, she wanted us to play saxophone and cello together. So here we go. Thank you so much, Claire. Next, we have Carlos Olivares from her cancer support group.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlos, and I have the honor of representing the Kaiser Cancer Support Group. I was asked by Colette to come up here, also at the request of some other people in the Cancer Support Group, because in cleaning out some of Nestle's stuff, she had found a couple of speeches that I had written that Nestle had asked me to give at some cancer symposiums, and she had made copies and she would give them out to other people at request, new recruits, or so to speak, new people into the group. So I figured you have a lot of family and friends that can talk about Nestle, but she liked the speeches that much that I figure I'd do kind of an abridged retelling of those speeches. And they would have, if you could kind of hear Nestle's voice in them, I'll say just two speeches that are quick, and then between them, some quick things I was told, or Nestle told me that I didn't know if her family knew about. I'll share one of them now, is that because of her husband, she believed that Fords were probably the best vehicle to ever own, and that's all she owned. That I knew her, and she talked about how her husband had, I believe it was a Crown Victoria, and then she had a Mercury Cougar, and then she had her Ford Focus, which she loved, and yeah. So this first speech is she asked me to speak at the Washington Cancer Symposium that she was on their Board of Health thing. So, hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for attending, and thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. My name is Carlos, and in 2011, I decided my mother and father did not have enough gray hair on their heads, so I went and got diagnosed with cancer. It's a pretty sobering thought being told at the age of 32 that not only do you have cancer, but it is also stage 4. I am a firefighter paramedic by trade, and being in the medical field, I knew the seriousness of the situation from a medical standpoint. I was totally in the dark about the spiritual journey I was about to embark on. As I lay there in the ER trying to absorb all the information that I had just been given, my mind was a whirlwind. I couldn't concentrate. It felt like my mind was going numb and into some quarantine stage of some autonomic function was taking over. For some reason, I wasn't upset, and I was not asking the world, why me? I couldn't sit there wasting time and questioning what was happening. I just knew the facts, and I knew I had a task to accomplish: beat cancer. Cancer is a war waged in the body, so I prepared myself for the war. I gathered what intelligence I could to displace fact from fiction. I learned about nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle changes, and I had family and friends, well wishes, thoughts, and prayers. You see, I had not known cancer to touch my immediate family and friends, so I was the first person stepping into this pool, setting a precedent for everyone else that I knew. I have a faith in God I share with you all, because that was what went through all of this. I was going through all of this for a greater plan, a plan bigger than me, and lo and behold, I'm here sharing my story, hopefully to inspire you. As God is my faith and strength, I encourage you and those you know walking this journey to find faith and strength in something. It does not have to be religion. You find your faith and strength in whatever drives you. For Nestle, it was tap dance. And she would never let me see her tap dance, but she told me about it. And it was her crossword puzzles and some of her cool banking stories. I wouldn't want to mess with her if it was coming to something financial. But whatever has gotten you this far in life, be it art, music, humor, family, friends, etc., you find the things in life that give you joy and comfort, because it is so true that positive attitude makes a difference. I'd never seen Nestle with anything else than a positive attitude, and if it wasn't a positive attitude at the time, it was a stern attitude, because it was no feeling sorry for yourself. There is no time for that. Every day I looked forward to the sunrise and sunset, because after my diagnosis, I appreciated everything I had a little bit more. I said, I want to be around for some more of these. Humor is a great weapon in the fight against cancer. Even when it seemed it had me on the ropes, I used things that used to give me hope and laugh. And for that. I'm not a fan of cliches. I think they're campy and overused at times, but they work. The right mindset with a positive attitude goes a long way. I felt sadness, despair. I saw the physical tolls it took on my body. I knew I was stronger than this, and I made a compromise. I knew cancer was going to attack my body, but one thing it couldn't attack was my spirit. And Nestle made sure that we all knew that in the cancer support group. There was never ever feeling sorry for anyone. People would come in with pretty sad stories, and she'd say, okay, that's nice. Now here's a book of all this information about food, nutrition, and here's an address with a lot of misspelled last names all over it, and if anyone needs you or you need anyone, you give them a call. For those of you who are supporters of cancer survivors, know this. I knew my family's friends and doctors would not have the answers I was looking for. I understood that everyone around me wanted to help as much as they could and in any way possible. But there will be times where we cancer survivors will have to walk certain parts of this journey alone. You can't take the chemo for us. You can't go the physical side effects with us. Do not get frustrated. We all know you want to help, so just be patient and be there on the other side of the single path waiting for us so we can walk this journey together again. I can't wait to walk this journey with Nestle on the other side. And then this is the second one. I'll make it quick. And in between, I said I had another thing. If you didn't know, Nestle did not like corn. I don't know. For those of you who didn't know, she would tell me stories about her time back in the Netherlands, and I would tell her, I'm going to make some meals, some steak and corn at the firehouse, and she would go, and this is a bad Nestle impression, I apologize, she would go, oh, Carlos, that's what we feed the pigs. But I like it, so that was one of the things we had together was that. So just a little bit in this next speech here, because this time when she had me speak, I had more of Nestle's influence in my life at this time, because I saw her every week, every Tuesday, like clockwork. And hopefully you can find similarities to what's going on today with us celebrating Nestle's life. For those of you who are supporters of cancer survivors, know this. I knew my family, friends, and doctors would not have all the answers I was looking for. I understood that everyone around me wanted to help as much as they could in any way possible, but there will be times when we will have to walk certain parts of this journey alone. Be the ear that listens to us. Be the shoulder or lap we can lay our weary heads on to take a nap. Sometimes you don't even need to talk. Sometimes being there is all we need. Nestle was good at that when we would tell our stories at the support group. When I was declared in remission, I was with Nestle at the time, and they had said, you're good, you're done. And it's like, case closed, right? But Nestle knew better. She knew, and she warned me about, things are going to come up, things are going to bother you. And unfortunately in this group, sometimes we're going to lose good friends, and that happened all too familiar, and it's not good. It sucked. But what I say in closing, on one hand, I'm grateful to be alive. I have the quality of life that I have. On the other hand, I struggle balancing with the humble lessons and revelations I've acquired throughout this journey. How do I go on experiencing the celebration of life? when we can appreciate these moments on a deeper level because we understand the impermanence of life. From watching an early morning sunrise to those nights where we stay up late with family and friends, even at times when we know the end is near. I refer to my experience as a journey because it is lifelong. During this journey, I hear how lucky I am or how people knew if anyone could beat this, it would be me. Then there's that word miracle. Something I have learned is that life itself is a miracle. The fact that we're all sitting here is a miracle. Life is so frail and yet so strong at the same time. Bob Marley once said, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." And to the family and friends struggling with the pains of losing a loved one, whether they're open, internal, or spiritual, I offer this silver lining. It's a quote from a movie that I had shared with Nestle. Pain is your friend, your ally. It will tell you when you're seriously injured. It will keep you awake and angry and remind you to finish the job and get the hell home. But you know what the best thing about pain? It lets you know that you're not dead yet. And in the end, that's what matters. That's why we celebrate life. And thank you for allowing me to share this with you all.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Up next, we have a letter from our relatives in the Netherlands, which is going to be read by her son-in-law, my father, Matthew Ricks.
Thank you. So hopefully the live stream is working so our family in the Netherlands can hear this. So again, this is a letter that they've written that we'll read on their behalf. So they say, on this day, we, the Dutch Moquettes, are attending the service for Nestle via live stream, hopefully. I added that. Let's give you a short explanation about the Moquette-Dutch connection. If it had not been for a world war and the independence of the Dutch East Indies, now Indonesia, Nestle would surely not have ended up bearing the Moquette name. The year is 1939, and J.P., Jean-Pierre Moquette, an officer in the Dutch-Indonesian army, has saved up a whole year of leave and packed up his wife, Tati, their two sons, Don and Harold, to spend time in faraway Holland, the Netherlands. The invasion of the Netherlands by the Germans changed the rest of their lives. The family survived the war, but they would never return to live in the Dutch East Indies, the place where they had been born and raised. Instead, they ended up building their lives in Rijswijk, Holland, where a third son, much younger than Don and Harold, was born, Franklin. We're now in the 1950s, and tragedy had hit the family when J.P. lost his life in a traffic accident. As it later turned out, only shortly before, Nestle Schlock had lost her father. The Schlock family had the best butcher shop in Rijswijk and beyond. And I'll tell you, Ma reminded us that many times through her life. That was my editorial. And Tati sent Don over to buy some meat one day. Don took one look into Nestle's big blue eyes, and the rest was pretty much history. Don had always been homesick for Indonesia, to where he couldn't return. And he had set his mind to immigrate to the United States. And shortly after their marriage, they set out to start a new life in California. We've now arrived at November 1955. A short anecdote explains the bond between Nestle and Bertha Moquette. On the day that Don and Nestle arrived in San Francisco, they played a key role in the engagement of his brother Harold to Bertha. Harold's girlfriend Bertha was working as an au pair in Berkeley at this time. Don was the one who put the engagement ring on Bertha's finger in Harold's place. Bertha spent another 3 months in California, and the two sister-in-laws-to-be got along great. Bertha went back to Holland and married Harold, and both brothers started their families and built their lives. Nestle and Don had 3 daughters, Lynn, Elena, and Colette. I remember the last one, my wife. And Bertha and Harold had 2 sons, Franz and Andre, and a daughter, Marguerite. youngest brother Franklin lived with his mother Tati in Rijswijk. In those days, the communication between the Dutch and the Californian Maquettes were just letters. Phone calls were extremely expensive, and of course the internet, email, and FaceTime had not yet been invented. In 1969, Harold's work as a Dutch naval officer brought him a 3-year assignment. He, Bertha, and their kids moved to Norfolk, Virginia. There would be an occasional phone call now, an exchange of reel-to-reel tapes. And what happened to them? That'd be great to hear now. And then in the summer of 1970, the 2 brothers and the 2 sisters-in-law finally had a great reunion in California, and the 6 cousins met for the first time. In the years following, Tati and Franklin went to California a few times for visits. In the 1980s, Nestle, Don, and their girls came to Holland for the first time. Later visits back and forth would be followed by both families. And after retirement of both brothers, the visits to California were longer. Nestle was working, she had a great career in banking, and loved her job. The Dutch Moquettes were there for some highlights as well. Harold, Bertha, and Franz attended Colette and Matt's wedding in 1989. And in 1990, Marguerite had an internship in San Francisco. Don and Nestle took her in like a daughter. She ended up living with them for 16 months and loved it. Nestle and Don had a great and loving marriage. It was fun being around them and felt just like home. During that time, Nestle and Don became grandparents for the first time when Devin, right there, was born. And Harold and Bertha were in California for a long visit when Don got sick and passed away. The warm connection between the families remained. Franklin would come out for Thanksgiving and stay with Nestle several times. And last summer, as a part of the Dutch Moquette clan, came over to Madison and Jackson's wedding. It was great to be at the Dutch table with Nestle, and what a great memory we have of our last visit with her. There's some Dutch in here I'm not going to read. Sorry about that. We will always cherish our loving memories of Nestle as our no-nonsense, fun-loving, straightforward, and caring great aunt and sister-in-law. Signed, Bertha, Franklin, Franz, Andre, Judith, Marguerite, Marianne, Philan, Jean-Paul, Chen, and Yonke. Thank you.
Thank you all for writing that. Thank you, Matthew, for reading that. Up next, we have Lynn Hamilton, one of her banking colleagues.
Thank you. I'm a little short, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Hamilton, and I had the pleasure of working with Nestle at Commercial Bank of Fremont from 1984 to 1993. Nestle was amazing. She was one of a kind, to put it mildly. She worked at a number of different banks. Before Commercial Bank of Fremont, she worked at Bank of America. She worked at Chartered Bank of London, which was, at that time, California First Bank. Then she came to Commercial Bank of Fremont. After that, after CBF was acquired, she went to work with Brian Keogh at Heritage Bank. And from there, she went to Tri-Valley Bank and finally Pan Pacific Bank. She retired at the age of 82 with the title of Vice President. And truly, she inspired so many of us and was a mentor to all of us. She was affectionately known by the majority of us as the mother of banking. And at the banks that she did work at, the majority of the people would call it Bank of Nestle, because she was the bank, and wherever she would go, they would follow. I first met Nestle in, I think it was February of 1984, when we had just moved into the actual permanent headquarters of the bank, or actually the actual building. And there was Tony, Harlan, Christine, and myself, and then Nestle came on board. So she was number 5 to come in. And it was really nice because back in those days, we didn't really have to so-called work. We were getting everything prepared for the bank to open. So we would sit and talk and put packages together and get ready for the bank, got to know each other, got to know each other's families. She loved you girls, and I know she loved her son-in-law, and I know how much she loved her children, and she loved having a grandson, and especially Dalton, and I had a Dalton too, grandson, so. But she was a kick. So anyway, we would sit there and we would talk and talk about some of the times where she worked at other locations. So she tells me, she goes, I worked at Kmart for a while. And I said, no way. I said, my mother-in-law worked there for a while. And she goes, say, was your mother-in-law Veda Hamilton? And I said, yes, that was my mother-in-law. And she says, oh, she didn't like you. So Nestle always told it like it was. Well, that was in the beginning, probably when I was dating or just got married to her son, but we've been married 50 years, so all is good. And then as the weeks and the months and the years went on, more and more people came on board, and really CBF was a family. We did everything together. We celebrated birthdays, and thank goodness for Donna's cakes that we all had, and Nestle loved her chocolate cake. We had celebrated Halloween, Christmas, you name it. And I remember Nestle bringing in those waffle cookies. Remember those? Oh, okay, well, she would keep them in her drawer, locked in the drawer, and she would every once in a while tell me to come here, and she would share one with me. And she would keep them away because she didn't want Don to have them. She didn't want your dad to have them because he was diabetic. So, but we had a great time, and we just had so much fun celebrating everything. So many memories. Cooking in the kitchen with Tony, making homemade raviolis without a stove, and we would have propane burners. We would do all of that. We would waitress at Lucia's and deliver and make risotto for the clients to make them all happy. We just had so many different things that we did together. And Nestle was always at the heart of it, always at the heart of it. And after a few years, more and more people would come and become employees of the bank. And we welcomed all of them. We all became a family, I guess except for this one time. And about 5 p.m. one afternoon, Harlan, who was the president of the bank, called Christine, Carol Watson, myself, and Nestle into the conference room and to shut the door. I thought, oh God, what did we do? So apparently, well, back in those days, we were called mean girls. And we were reprimanded for not welcoming one of the employees. There's more to the story, but I'm not going to get into it. Oh, Nestle was not a happy person. I will just tell you that. And Nestle, I loved her nicknames. Ma Belle back there, and Goulardi. Those were two of her besties. She went to movies with them. They were there to help her to do whatever she needed all the way to the end. Nestle took a personal interest in all of us, and she would share you children what you would do. And I know she attended a lot of the softball games that my daughter played, my husband coached. And because at the time, I don't know if the other ones, but I do remember Colette. She always used to say Colette played, and I think you were a catcher.
I was.
Yes, because my daughter was catcher, and she would always say that. We just had, the best time. And before the title personal banker came to be, and that's probably just in the last 2 years, maybe 5 years, I'm saying my age, she was a personal banker. She gave 100% to each and every one of her clients. I know at CBF, she would talk to them before hours, after hours, weekends, whenever. She was always available for them and recommending what they should or shouldn't do. And then once CBF was acquired by U.S. Bank, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the personal relationships. So Brian Kehoe went on to Heritage Bank and bought Nestle with him. And Nestle was across the street, and she just wanted to help everyone. But in that building, you couldn't really open accounts because it was illegal. So Nestle would just do what she had to do, take them out to the backyard, put them in one of those metal benches, and open accounts all day long out there. So she always got the job done no matter what. I've been thinking, all week, well, the past week and a half, I guess, about Nestle and different stories that pop up and what she's doing, and I know she's in heaven. I know her love of God, her love of family is there, and I know she's up there with Tony and Harlan and Joe and starting another Bank of Heaven up there. I just know she's up there. I know that's what she would want to do because she loved her job. Nestle was a coworker, a friend, and a word that comes to mind, a legend. There's just too many things to mention, but I know all of you and what you meant to her and what she meant to you. And I've talked to a number of the employees that we worked with this week, and so many stories, so many hysterical stories that I wish I could share. But I know Nestle would be kicking me under the conference room table, as she would always do, or poking me to hurry up and finish. But take those stories with you that you've shared with me and sit back and think about it, and I know it'll put a smile on your face. It sure did me. Nestle was full of life and lived every moment to the fullest. So today we celebrate the life and the wonderful life it was of Nestle. And lastly, they say that when you leave your job, you can be replaced. Well, I beg to differ. Nestle was one of a kind, and she can never be replaced. Love you, Ness.
Thank you, Lynn Hamilton. Next up, we're going to have Marina, her niece, up to read one of Nestle's favorite poems. It's going to be on the back of your memorial folder, if you grabbed one of those.
I'm waiting for my glasses. In the meantime, this is actually, my aunt loved Dutch poetry. My mom, 4 years older than Aunt Nestle, they were both very artsy, very much into music, and very much into poetry. And so the way my aunt would do this poem is so dramatic that I could never copy it. And without having my glasses, I can't really read the whole thing because it is a tongue twister. These are Shakespearean Dutch poems. So the language is not the Dutch that we speak today. Okay, let's see if yours works. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, here we go. I can't see you now, but I can see the face. De zee klotst voort in eindeloze deining. De zee waarin mijn ziel zichzelf weerspiegeld ziet. De zee is als mijn ziel in wezen en verschijnen. Een levensschoon en kent zichzelf niet. Zij wist zichzelf af in eeuwige verreining. En wendt zichzelf om en keert weer van waar zij vliet. Zij drukt zichzelf uit in duizenderlei lijnen. En zingt een eeuwig blij en eeuwig klagend lied. O zee, was ik als gij, in al uw onbewustheid. Dan zou ik eerst geheel en groot gelukkig zijn. Dan had ik eerst geen lust naar menselijke lusten. Naar menselijke vreugde en menselijke pijn. Dan was mijn ziel een zee. En haar zelfgerustheid zou, wel zij groter is dan gij, nog groter zijn. There you go.
Thank you so much, Marina. Next up, we have Denise Lee, from her cancer support group.
It's fine, yeah, thanks. Good afternoon. My name is Denise Lee. I'm also from the Cancer Support Group. I'll just say that Carlos and I did talk before this, and he took all the good things I was going to say, so I'll be very brief. I want to thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak here today. I was one of the newer recruits. I met Nestle in March of 2018, and I do believe that God puts people in your life at the time that they're supposed to be in your life, exactly the way you need them in your life. And for me, that was Nestle. She was a balm for my soul at a time when I needed it. And to understand the context of that, let me just back up a little bit. I had, November of the previous year, 2017, I had the opportunity to retire early from my job. I was 54. And I was so excited, all the things I was going to do. I had everything planned out. I was going to start working out. I was going to read all the books I wanted to read. I was going to travel. And I did manage to travel shortly after I retired, and I came back, and I had a doctor's appointment. And I had to go in for a scan. And the next day, someone called me, a pulmonologist. I didn't even know what a pulmonologist was. And I had a mass in my lung. And needless to say, that was not part of my retirement plan. And I was devastated. And after some testing on Valentine's Day of 2018, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I was devastated. I was hopeless. I was isolating. Someone suggested, well, maybe you should go talk to someone. I'm like, no, I can handle it on my own. But I was not doing a very good job of it. And finally, a friend had convinced me, well, there is a cancer support group. It's at Kaiser Hospital. I will go with you because I think you need to go. And that was when I first met Nestle. And I walked in, and I gave my name and gave all the information that I was diagnosed and what the stage was. She says, "Oh, you're stage 1B. You've got this made." And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And sure enough, she gave me the brochures about eating right and diet and all of that Carlos mentioned. And that was what I needed at that time because I was so afraid. And my father died of cancer. And so I just was like, this is what I'm going to do. So very shortly thereafter, I realized what an incredibly wicked sense of humor Nestle had. And she made me laugh. She made me cry. We talked about all types of things. And I remember one time she told me, Denise, you may have cancer, but cancer doesn't have to have you. And that was so true. And I always tell people that she taught me not only how to survive cancer, but she taught me how to thrive in the face of that diagnosis. She always included me, always made sure that I was going to the symposium, always made sure I was going to the potlucks, always reached out to make sure that I was included, and that was what I needed because I didn't have the capacity to do it on my own. I remember one of the last times I saw Nestle was before the pandemic, and during the pandemic actually. And the pandemic, at least for me, was very isolating because I was still going through treatment, and so I couldn't get out, and I was afraid, and I had to stay at home, and all of that. And I remember one day I'm sitting in my house. And there's a knock on the door. My dogs start going crazy. It's like, oh my God, who is that knocking on my door, right? So I look out the peephole, and I'm not going to answer because I don't recognize it, right? Recognize the person. And I said, yes, because I didn't see any brochures, so I know it wasn't somebody trying to convert me to something. And the person said, hi, my name is Colette, and I'm Leslie's daughter, and we have a Christmas gift for you. So I opened the door, and Nestle was in the car across the street, and her daughter said, hi, I'm Colette, and I brought my mom down here to give you a Christmas gift, and she wanted you to have a Christmas gift. And I was just completely blown away. And so I waved, and my dogs ran out the house, and I'm like, wave, and that just meant so much to me. And I was talking to her daughter a couple of weeks ago, Colette, and I says, now your sister that lives in New York, is she coming? She's like, what? I don't have a sister that lives in New York. And I say, and I'm trying to argue with, yes, you do. But Nestle would always talk about her trips with her daughter to New York to go to Broadway and see all these Broadway plays. And I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of cool. So I remember the first time I went to New York was 3 years ago, or 3 years ago. And I went to see a Broadway play, and I could not wait to get back home. And I called her and said, Nestle, you'll never guess, I went to New York and I saw a Broadway play. But she was just that type of person to me, and she just meant so much because she really helped me in a time where I was really in the depths of despair. And I will always be grateful for that. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. That was beautiful. Up next, we have her neighbor, Jan Lenders, who over time has become increasingly like family to us. Here he is now.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for to come over, and thank you, God. We are here today to pray for Nestle, mother and grandmother, and a best friend for all of us. God took Nestle up to heaven, where she rests in peace. Nestle was a near and dear lady, had friendship for everybody, and a great family would work together with love. God works in a great way to bring people together. 3 years ago, I met a young lady. She was moving in next door to me. She told me, I'm Colette. My mother is moving in. Nestle, her name is Nestle. We met, and I found out that we were born in the same country, the Netherlands. What a small world. After 90 plus years, God put us together in God put us together. I
think it might be the system in general.
System. You think? Maybe it's my bread. Not there. Yeah. So, shall I wait or shall I?
Yeah, shall I wait a moment and get the people who work here to get the speaker back on.
Maybe you can hear me when I talk? Yes. Okay. Dus we were born in the Netherlands. What a small world. After 90 plus years, God put us together in Livermore, California. We were good friends and neighbors. Nestle called me every morning at 9. Is everything okay? So I'll see you at 11. And 11 o'clock, I'm going to pick Nestle up in a wheelchair, and I wheel her around outside when Nestle likes some fresh air. And then we'll end up in the mailroom when Nestle likes to talk to people. Yeah. And at 5 o'clock, I go over there and watch TV, have a cookie and a cup of coffee. And we watch the big TV with a lot of good programs. And before I go home, I'll make sure that everything was okay, that Nestle can sleep safe. The whole family came over to help. It was never too far off for to drive or to fly. Nestle had a great, loving, helping family. Loved them all. And a great doctors, and grandson. And a granddaughter, Laura, came over from New York to stay with her grandma. And she did a great job. Bless you, Lauren. And thank you, God, that I found a good friend and family. Nestle, dear, we say in Holland, till we meet again, rust in vrede. That means rest in peace. I'm going to miss you, honey. God bless you, and God bless you all for coming in. Thank you, Lord. Bye.
Thank you so much, Jan. Now we're going to have Nestle's harp teacher, Dan, is going to play Claire de Lune at Nestle's request.
I don't know if she requested or not.
She did. She did.
I met her, I can't remember what year she took harp lessons. I don't know if Joanne is here today. I don't know if she was able to make it. Nestle and Joanne would take harp lessons together. We had so much fun. This was really terrific. And both of them bought harps. And Nestle was determined to get one of the grandchildren to play the harp. I'm sure she's still going to try it. And how many people know it's her birthday on Monday? Probably everybody, right? Okay. Well, maybe we'll start off with a little happy birthday.
Wow, thank you so much, Dan. Now, to close us out, we have Nestle's firstborn daughter, Lynn.
More power to you. Let's see if I can stand up for 15 minutes. Good afternoon. What's that?
It's Mom.
Yeah, it must be Mom. I'm Lynn Nestle Moquette, Nestle's oldest daughter. I'm sure that it won't surprise you to find out that Mom was quite the spitfire when she was young. She was a spirited tomboy, swimming in the canals, pole vaulting over the canals, always challenging the boys. One of her favorite stories was about a time that she was kicked out of her classroom at school and sent into the hall for misbehavior. Did she stand at the door in shame? Nope. She saw all of the hats hanging on a line, on hooks outside the classroom, and used one of the umbrellas there and casually flipped all those hats off of the hooks and onto the floor. Well, then she joyfully danced upon them. She was kicked out of that school, and her father had to find another private school for her to attend. She also told us terrifying stories about World War II and how their family hid a Jewish teenager in the walls and between the floors of their home above the butcher store. The Nazis were on the lookout for things like this and periodically burst into their home for inspections. They would tap their nightstick on the walls or the floors as they walked, listening for sound that somebody was hiding inside. And the young man would hear those taps and have to move ahead of them. If the Nazis would have found them, the whole family would have been executed on the spot. I heard that years later, the Slock family was able to reconnect with this very grateful young man. There was another story in her obituary, if you read the long version of her obituary, that I posted in there too. Mom was always very independent. She had to be, because her parents were busy with the butcher store. Even in her last days, she was recalling what a somewhat sickly child she was, requiring hospital stays. It always amazed her that she was the last one left out of her family, and she thought she was the sickly one. She took the train all by herself to the hospital and had the treatment or procedure, and then eventually took the train back home with not even a visitor. Her parents didn't have time to witness her athletic competitions either. She was a national level hurdler, at one point winning a silver medal against an Olympic level hurdler, Hanny van der Schoen, I think the name was. And she rode in equestrian shows as well, but her parents were unable to attend. So that is why she was determined to attend all of her children's various activities, and she did, and the grandkids' activities too. This independence served her well when she married my dad and was thrown into a new country and a new way of life. In the Netherlands, Mom lived a relatively privileged life where she didn't have to cook or clean. And note to my daughter, the horses she rode were brought out to her all saddled up and ready to go. All she had to do was jump on in her fancy riding gear. But in California, suddenly Mom was on her own in a new country, and she was grateful for the matron of their host family, Tante Corey, who taught her how to can, cook, and bake. I have fond memories of getting huge flats of strawberries and other fruit at the big fruit stand on Mission Boulevard in Fremont, and canning them the old-fashioned way with the paraffin top. And we always had a peach pie production line every summer when our peach tree got ripe. Mom was an excellent butcher, too, or butcher, as she would say. She used to buy a quarter cow on the hook at a slaughterhouse in Niles, I think it was. I went with her once. It was bizarre. And then she would cut that quarter cow up herself into the serving pieces that she wanted. I vividly remember going to college and realizing that meat at home was so much better than meat anywhere else. I actually stopped eating meat for a while. I was so disillusioned. Here's a famous story that she loved to tell. In fact, my sister corrected me on it today. So it involved me when I was around 6. I don't know why, but a slightly older child named Bootsy who lived down the street, punched me as I walked home. He was a scary kid even at 7. His hair was shaved very short, almost bald. He was shirtless, big baggy shorts held up by an oversized belt, and huge cowboy boots that were probably hand-me-downs. I went to my mom and told her that Bootsy hit me. Why? I don't know. Suddenly she grabs my hand and hauls me down the street to Bootsy's house. I'm mortified, and here's Bootsy still in his front yard. She marched me right up to him face to face. He didn't move. Mom says, hit him back. I say no. She says it louder and with conviction, hit him back. So I reared back and barely landed a blow. Harder, she said. I tried again. This time it connected, and Mom was satisfied. She probably told him not to hit me again, and we marched back home. That school in Sun Terrace East was tough for me. I was bullied all 3 years. We lived in that part of Concord for being smart, teacher's pet for being fat, for wearing glasses, you name it. I was mercilessly teased. My lunch was stolen out of my lunchbox for months, and eventually my lunchbox was stolen. I loved school, but would come home crying sometimes. Mom always told me something that I still abide by. She always told me that I had to feel sorry for them because they felt so badly about themselves that they needed to put me down and make themselves feel better. That changed my whole attitude, and instead of feeling tormented, I felt sorry for them instead. Plus, it helped that Mom started giving me lunch money to buy lunch instead of having to bring a lunch. Even when Mom was working, she always had extra stuff going on the side. She was an Avon representative for at least a decade. That was during Avon's heyday, when they were just beauty and personal care products. We always loved it when the Avon box was delivered, helping Mom with the inventory and lining up all the bags with the order tags and dropping the stuff in the bags and double checking everything. It seemed like she did well, but I wonder if she ever made any real money off of that. I've never asked her. Even though Mom grew up a tomboy, as an adult, she always had her face on when she was out, lipstick and nails done. She always said it was because she was a banker and everybody looked at her hands. She always did her own nails, color and glitter. Can't forget the glitter. And it was usually like seasonal, you know. We used to call her, let's see here. When I lived at home, she always did her own nails, right? She could be quite the style maven too. We used to call her Imelda because her huge walk-in closet was all shoes back in the day. In the 70s, I remember that she had a color block dress, you know, one of those 70s type dresses that was diagonally half orange, bright orange, and half purple. And somehow, I'll never know how, she had perfectly matching high heels that were also half orange and half purple. Go figure. The exact same colors. Mom also had a fascination for Native Americans, which played right into being a Bluebirds and Campfire Girls leader. She loved the Native American type language that Campfire Girls had us use for our group names and our individual names, and as lyrics in many of the Campfire Girls songs. Mom liked to wear my purple Campfire Girls ceremonial gown with all the patches and beads that I earned as a Halloween costume. So those of you at the bank that saw her in that purple gown with all the beads hanging, that was my Campfire ceremonial gown. When we were kids on our annual family vacation, when we camped somewhere for a couple of weeks, Mom would always find the museum, the mission, the who knows, whatever, or some other attraction that related to Native Americans. It was definitely one of her things. Then there's New York. I had been taking annual trips to New York by myself to see Broadway shows for several years when Mom announced in 2004, "I want to go with you." Okay. So the next year, and for 14 years trips after that, Mom joined me for our summer Broadway binges, where we would usually see around 12 shows in 9 days. I'd say, "Mom, some of these shows might be too explicit and not up your alley." She'd say, "I want to see every show that you see." Come to think of it, she especially loved the shows that I thought might be a stretch for older folks. Like, I think her third favorite show of all time was Hamilton. And the people next to us would split from Hamilton because they didn't get the rap, because we saw it before it was popular. We saw it right when it was in previews. And after that, she loved Spring Awakening, which was very controversial, and Book of Mormon. Shows that we would see people would walk out on mid-show because they found it so offensive. Mom loved it. She even loved it when Broadway legend Alan Cumming shook his butt in Mom's face when we sat in the front row for Cabaret. We saw Alan Cumming on Broadway in Cabaret, and Mom was right there in front, and he went right up to her and just stuck his butt right in her face. So Mom saw every show that I wanted to see. I would book every possible slot with a Broadway show, and then we would do an extra sightseeing thing or two once every trip. She loved the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island because of her own immigration to the United States. But she also loved the crazy double-decker bus tours and the boat tours, which we did multiple times. We set out one year to take one of those horse-drawn carriages in Central Park 2, which she loved. And of course, she loved the Metropolitan Museum of Art and all of the other smaller art museums that we visited. She loved it all, but our focus was the shows. I prioritized certain Broadway shows for Mom. Any show that had David Hyde Pierce in it. He was Fraser's brother on TV. Any show with Jim Parsons in it. He was Sheldon in Big Bang Theory. I think we saw David Hyde Pierce 3 times and Jim Parsons twice on Broadway. Maybe 3 times for Jim Parsons. Any show with Broadway star Billy Porter in it, and any show that included drag performers. If you don't know the term drag, that is when men convincingly perform as women. Mom was obsessed with drag performers. This was the same woman who adored Tom Jones. Go figure. Mom's second favorite Broadway show was Kinky Boots. Everybody's heard her say, Kinky Boots. One of those shows with lots of drag performers, and that is where she first saw Billy Porter, a performer she continued to follow on TV. Of course, our favorite show of all time was The Phantom of the Opera. And we got in the habit of revisiting Phantom every summer just to see how it was doing. Her favorite song was Point of No Return. And she was still belting it out the best she could on limited oxygen in her final days, singing along with Michael Lackey's version that he sent her right up to the end and made everybody listen to it that came to visit her in her last week. Every night in New York, Mom needed a nightcap or martini of some sort. So we would usually go to the bar at Junior's at Times Square or to the Broadway Lounge overlooking Times Square at our favorite hotel, the Marriott Marquis. When she ordered a martini, she always asked for the Dutch vodka, Ketel 1. And if the bartender was chatty, or even if he wasn't sometimes, she would explain how Ketel 1 started out as Dutch Jenever, which originates from juniper berries. Our favorite bartender at Junior's, Sergio, would always make Mom's drinks extra stiff. He called her Mom, and they always had a great chat. Of the texts that I received when Mom passed, Sergio's was the most touching text, and the one that made me cry the most. He loved her so much. The bartender in New York at Junior's adores her. We promised we're going to have a toast to her when I get back to New York eventually. Mom and I had a blast on those trips, and we were excellent travel partners, always on the same wavelength, fitting together like 2 puzzle pieces. Elaine was able to join us for a couple of trips, and she said that Mom was on a different level on those trips. Elaine described it as euphoric. Mom talked about each trip for months afterwards, and sometimes years. I will miss her even more deeply every time I go to New York in the future. It just won't be the same without her. Mom was an amazing grandmother to my daughter, Claire. They had so many things in common. They were both obsessed with shoes, and high heels in particular. That one definitely skipped a generation. They had the love of horses in common, and Mom went to many of Claire's horse shows, and she very much enjoyed visiting Claire's horses at the ranch as long as she was able to. There's a picture in there with Claire with some and the horses. There's another Mom story involving horses. I took horseback riding lessons for a few years as a kid. They were group lessons, and even though all the other girls were riding Western saddles, Mom insisted
that I had to ride English. I don't even know if this barn even knew English, but they found somebody with an English saddle. So there were no ifs and or buts. If I was going to get on a horse, it was going to be an English saddle. So when Claire started lessons at age 7, there was no question she has always ridden English. Anyway, I think one of the things Mom missed the most when she went on oxygen was having to miss Claire's orchestra concerts. As you heard, Claire plays the cello in the Camellia Symphony Orchestra, and Mom played the violin as a child. Mom absolutely reveled in Claire's concerts. She loved classical music and often impressed me with her knowledge. After she went on oxygen, I would surreptitiously record pieces of the concerts on my phone and play them for her later, but don't tell anybody. Mom is so very proud of all 3 of her children and all 5 of her grandchildren. I'm always surprised how much people know about us. So she must have done a lot of bragging. All my life, she said to me, "You are the carbon copy of your father." Well, the last month or 2 of her life, she started saying, "You have a lot of your mother, too." And I'm taking that as the highest compliment. Us girls always called our mom amazing and inspirational. These are words that we've heard a lot of people say. But I'm telling you right now, Mom, we are so very proud of you, too. What an incredible life she lived with so many challenges, yet always devoting herself to others. Mom's passing leaves a hole in all of our hearts. Let's all try to be a little bit more like Nestle. That way we are all paying forward her caring, her love, her absolute amazingness. And that's the end of my speech. I'm finishing it out here, guys. Our family would like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. Your condolences, prayers, and kind messages have touched our hearts. After we have a closing prayer, we will have a last birthday party reception for what would have been Mom's 90th birthday, which would have been on Monday, outside these doors this way. Please join me in our closing prayer. Heavenly Father, as we gathered here today to fondly remember a remarkable woman, a beloved mother, a cherished grandmother, and a supportive friend, we came before you with heavy hearts, but also filled with gratitude for the long and meaningful life she led. We thank you for the gift of her presence in our lives, a life that was marked by love, devotion to family, and a profound sense of service to others. As she joins her beloved husband in the embrace of your heavenly kingdom, we find solace in knowing that their reunion is a testament to the enduring love that transcends the boundaries between this world and the next. Lord, we lift up our hearts in gratitude for the countless moments of joy, warmth, and spunkiness she shared with us, and for the lessons she taught, both her words and actions. May we carry forward the love and kindness she so generously bestowed upon us, creating ripples of her spirit in our own lives and in the lives of those around us. Grant us, O Lord, the strength to continue to celebrate the beautiful tapestry of her life, and in our grief, may we always find moments of joy in the countless memories she leaves behind. Bless us with the assurance that her spirit lives on in the love that unites us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much to everyone who spoke and performed. We'll now be serving refreshments down here on the left through these doors. So we'd love to talk to you. Thank you for coming.
Where should we go? Well, I don't want to go outside. It's too cold out there.
Absolutely.
I was her, we are or were her immediate neighbor.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay.
So just got to know her, and she's delightful.
Yeah, yeah,
Delightful
yeah.
sense of humor.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Okay, take care. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she helped me a lot. She helped me a lot. Yeah.
I'm a nephew, so I never knew all these things.
Oh, yeah. No, she helped me a lot. She helped me a lot. Yeah. 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 Oh, well. Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank
She
you.
talked about you all the time and your trips. She did. No, and how much she enjoyed them. Yes, she did. How much she loved them. And I was like, oh my gosh, it sounded like a lot of fun.
I know. We always had a blast.
Yeah.
We were excellent travel buddies.
Yeah,
know.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Which I was grateful
I'm
for.
so sorry for her. She was a great person.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I already feel it every time I want to text her.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
call her.
Yeah.
You did a superb job. It was so. Hi, you guys. It was so great hearing all those stories. It was very clear with it.
I was the best.
You were the clear.
Yeah, you're biased.
Great stories. You know, it's so sad, but I'm gonna go. But it's so joyful. I did really well until I see you.
I know. Well, I feel for you because you didn't have all that time with your mom, you know? You could have had all those great times in New York, too.
Well, we did go and get to New York, and we did have lots of adventures in New York.
And Mom always liked the weird shows, you know, like Spring Awakening and Book of Mormon.
My parents would do it. They would go to see Let My People Come. And the guys were lined up naked, shaking people's hands on the way out. Why are my parents seeing something like that? I wouldn't see that.
Oh my gosh. Well, get some. There's champagne.
I'm going to get one for the road.
And the cherry, remember the cherry almond is gluten-free. Give it a shot.
I have to do that.
Give it a shot. There's sandwiches and veggies. Look at all the fun stuff out there. Yeah, you can sit, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if they're allowing the food in. Who knows? So many people I have to say hi to.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you be. I'm going to take one for the road and head on back. Let me know when you get back safely. And no watch. You guys are so attractive and statuesque. Like, look at the big kid. She's getting more like gorgeous.
Just that much.
No. You are like a carbon copy.
A little tribute. And it brought back some memories.
I just skimmed because I didn't want to be too long. You know?
Oh my gosh, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but you definitely hit the highlights and evoked that feeling.
Did you get to read her full obituary?
I did, yeah.
They were supposed to read it, but Dalton forgot.
Yeah, I'm gonna, well, I sent it to my mom. I'm going to take a picture of also, you know, this and the program and send it to my mom because she.
Thank you, Liz. I'm 10 years of and it's nice to be on you now. Yeah, I could have said stories.
You're an amazing storyteller.
You have no idea.
We should all just like get together and just talk about her. I think we should.
I was staring wrong.
I know. She loves all the craziest shows. The shows that everybody walked out on, Mom loves. Like, Mom, there's gay sex in it. I don't care.
She used to tell me, you gotta see it. You gotta see it.
Oh, she loved Kiki Boots. Oh my God. She loved drag. It was her thing.
What a wonderful speech, Mom.
Really?
Got me crying.
Oh, good to see you, Lynn. That was a good speech. My God.
I managed to make it without crying too bad.
It was.
Worked with your mom.
Leland, oh my gosh.
How you been?
The famous Leland. So there's a bunch of photo albums from bank stuff. Did you see them out there in the front?
Yeah, I did.
Please take them if you want them. There's like a, were you with Heritage?
No, so Brian was Heritage. I was
Brian's
Commercial
Heritage.
Bank.
You were after
Commercial
that.
Bank in Fremont and Penn Pacific.
And after, so before and then,
yeah.
They were supposed to read her obituary, but they didn't get there.
Oh, okay.
There's a bunch of photo albums. I don't know if you're in any of them, but there's a whole bunch of people that we don't know who they are.
Really?
So if you're interested, they're out in that end.
Okay. I'll let them know. I'll tell them now.
There's a beautiful Heritage Bank photo album out there.
Okay. I'll
So let
them
him know. I'm glad you came. Thank you for coming.
Oh, no. Thanks for getting a hold of me.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Jackie, did you see the picture with you and Brad up there?
I did.
Hello, my dear.
Oh, it's good to see you. This is my daughter, Barbie.
Hi, Barbie. I've heard so much about you. Oh, all good. All good.
You had knee surgery.
I did. It's hard for me to stand alone, but I'm doing okay today. I took some Advil. I figured, you know. I left my cane in the car. I didn't want people thinking I was walking with a cane.
Why not?
There's Cosmos out there. Whoever's not driving, they're only quarter strength. They're very tight, but Cosmos. In honor of Nestle.
Yeah, it's about tea time for her.
Yeah. Oh, she would be drinking at lunch when we went to shows, you know.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yeah.
At home, I used to call her about this time, but it was 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Martini? Oh, yeah.
I know. Oh, my goodness.
It's good to see everybody. The kids are doing well.
All the grandchildren. Oh, look, they're drinking Cosmos. I see him toasting. Are you still in Santa Cruz, I think it is? Yeah?
I love the lady. We had all the group. It was nice to get to see your mom at the very end, so it was nice.
Yeah, I wrote your mom and said, you need to go see her, she's going fast. When I wrote the Christmas card, and I'm glad that your mom
I know.
paid
It was
attention.
one of those, and we were out of town. I said, Mom, just give me a date. And I mean, I know it was like somebody was definitely watching from above.
Yeah.
It meant everything to her. So.
Oh. Can't say what your mom got to.
It's clear to a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, you know. And us kids don't know the full extent, you know. It's wonderful to see.
What everybody talks about. It all boiled down to the same.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of came from the same thing.
I know.
Well, get off your knee.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right.
You should have a Cosmo.
I should have a
much
Cosmo.
better.
There's lots of good food out there. And champagne cupcakes, you guys. Look at little tiny baby bites. Mom loved that place. That's why I brought them. We used to have them after Claire's concerts. We'd get back from Claire's concerts. You know, she'd spend the night at my house. And if it was just her and me, and we'd always have I'd buy a couple of cupcakes and we'd cut them up.
Well, that's why I brought the little buntinis when we came up. I did the little baby.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets their favorite, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's my daughter Claire.
Oh, family's beautiful. Everybody's beautiful.
She takes after her dad. He was also here somewhere. That guy.
That guy. Oh, that was just talking about
the guy with the silver hair. All right. So you guys go. Get either a cupcake or a Cosmo.
To the parking lot?
Yeah, the parking lot's right that way and also around.
I'll get your car out and you take it.
Keep it tight. Do you have anything else? Oh, an email. I'll have to take a look again. I think I might have missed it. I'll check it out.
I sent it to
Yeah, hello Larry. Hello Larry. That's how I met. I'll see if I have it. You're always getting on Facebook. Are you on Facebook now? No, I'm sorry. Look, there you are. You and Brad. He's still my favorite Phantom.
I was surprised when I saw that.
I know. My favorite Phantom.
Yeah. What's he doing?
None better. He's married a woman in South Korea, and he's doing stuff in South Korea. I haven't seen him in 8 years. I know, and I'm not going to South Korea just to see Brad. Although I do love him.
It's not that bad though.
Yeah.
Take care. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Oh my God.
Of course. No, of course. Of course. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It sucks.
Hi, dear.
friends together, feel free. I couldn't.
Trying to host less, just like
You've been hosting a lot?
we host mainly, I'd say. It's pretty rare for us to be invited to anything. Got invited to something.
I feel that way myself sometimes. I'm always the organizer. It gets a little exhausting.
No, we host probably like, I would say 95% of the time. So, just like just chill out.
Take the win. Take the win.
Chill out for a minute. Just like, you know. Just relax.
A lot to be said for that. My friend Fred, another business school friend that was on this trip, who lives 2 doors down the road from me in Portola Valley. And he has like the gift of organization, and so he's like, he just doesn't seem to get exhausted by it. I don't know how he does it. So he's always like the guy pulling the group together, you know, with the plan, kind of leading the charge, and it's like I'm so grateful because it's not. I know just from personal experience. Yeah, he lives 2 houses away up on Portola Valley. Do you know, his kids went to Menlo. You might have known some of them. Their last name is Wong. And so there was Kate Wong. No, not even Wong. Kate Wong, Julia Wong, and then Alexander Wong is the other.
Julia was like, she was good.
I think Julia's younger than me.
Maybe there's a lot of Long also happens to be an extremely common name. There was definitely Julia.
I think Julia might be Christian. Kate's the oldest. But
I don't think I have one.
We're
still here. I'm still in my house, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny, you know that guy Ethan Bowen was like a team crazy.
Yeah, I think you used to highlight him as a...
He was insane. He like really shaped up. Stand-up guy. He like... Everybody thought like of all the people in our class that he was going to become like some cutthroat finance mogul. And instead he like devoted his life to making like sustainable housing for people. And it's like not a good business. And he's just doing it because he like...
Wow.
You can't judge somebody based on high school.
Was Ethan Wong like a friend of like the Breyer kids?
Yeah. The Breyer kids turned out decent too. He was like, him and Ethan were like big good guys.
He and who?
Him and Ethan.
Ethan, yeah, that's what I remember.
He
Yeah.
did a lot of drugs. But I think they both turned out fine. And he reached out to me randomly on LinkedIn just to like say hi.
It wouldn't be the first time that somebody was kind of like a, sort of pretty rebellious, sort of crazy character in high school and then shaped up later. That's not,
A lot of people.
it's not uncommon.
Sounds like even this.
That was a great story. We're getting kicked out of school over the hat incident. Well, back then, like, it was like...
I used to get kicked out of class too.
Well, back then, no...
I got kicked out of class intentionally for years. It was awesome. You got kicked out, you didn't have to go. There were no other consequences. So why would you not get kicked out of class?
There's a lot of undiagnosed ADHD and stuff back then, so you had a lot of kids that seemed like they were, off the rails. But, just classroom environment wasn't going to work for them.
I just think it's a personality characteristic, like a large
but it does mean that you're more likely to not, fit into the grooves of a classroom environment, right? You're going to get in trouble, get kicked out of class, like stuff like that. In middle school? So this might be true of middle school in general.
Basically, what you're learning is how to, it's just like daycare, where you can like socialize, not get dumped.
This is why people that homeschool their kids, like they can get it done in like an hour a day. And the kids that get homeschooled, whatever, they're like sailing around the world or hiking around mountains and shit, learning for an hour a day, and then they come back and they're ahead, of their grade level.
Yeah, because
This is true, yeah, and I mean, it's all of this, like, how do you study? How do you do a project? That makes sense. And you encountered this. And you encountered this in college. That's interesting. Homeschooling wasn't like a thing when I was younger, so I never had that experience.
He would have been 76.
Is Leslie or not?
Yeah, Leslie was here. She is here. Very, very short hair. I haven't seen her really stretch right now.
There's this whole kind of new movement in the way reading is being taught, because like there was kind of a wave that went through the schools of using stupid things like contextual clues and whatnot for reading, which isn't really reading, and so there's been a backlash now. So there's kind of the science of reading is like a thing. And so there's other curricula that have been put out to teach reading in a different way, more rigorous. And my friend Evan, who you know, Evan Marwell, he actually co-founded a business that is based on this science of reading curriculum, and it sort of takes that in the form of a tutoring service based on that method and offers it in the public schools as like an augmentation of the classroom learning. And his partner is, an educational product development person, and the thing is taking off like wildfire. Like the whole, they get amazing results. And with a relatively small amount of time, and the way the curriculum is structured, you don't have to be it's not like a credentialed teacher type thing. Like, they can train like a college student, or just like some smart person to be one of these online tutors. And, there's enough structure in the curriculum that they can crush it, and the kids, really enjoy it. And so anyway, it's a real success story. I made a small investment in the company. It's sort of like half nonprofit. It's like a public benefit corporation. So, but it seems to be making a big difference. But I think it uses, it's sort of dealing with a lot of the same issues that you were bumping into where, reading was being taught in kind of a half-assed way. That you ended up really enjoying math and being good at it. I mean, there were a couple times they tried to run you out of the program and had to, as parents, we really had to push back hard. If we'd just been sort of go with the flow parents, it wouldn't have worked. What was the name of that guy, that ninth grade John? I think that was the low water mark, right? think of this, but I'm reading this very unusual book right now. Have you ever heard of a guy named Francis Peretti? He writes like novels. He's a Christian and he writes novels, and they're like spiritual warfare stories. And it's really pretty. Eric Wolford recommended it to me a couple of years ago, and so I read this one book, and this is a sequel to it. And it's the plot of this one is basically how demonic forces have organized to take over sort of what's being taught in the schools and how it is as a way to subvert God's people. And it's like it's really interesting to read because it connects a lot of the BS that you see in schools, but from the spiritual warfare point of view. So it is. Hey, I'm reading it. It's interesting. Yeah, right now. Yeah. No, I read one book several years ago, and then they're quick. This is not War and Peace. Like you can bust through it pretty fast. So. How's your hip doing? Do you still do any of the stuff that Taylor showed you? Take it slow. It's been such a. I hate to have a setback because it's been such a long march to get to this point. It's hard to tell the difference. Is it passage of time or some? Finding a way to sort of gently and steadily strengthen the whole thing too is part of it, because you probably got some atrophy going on at this point because you've been sidelined, right? And so that makes you more susceptible. So like, how can you strengthen without causing a setback? I'm in the same situation. Like, I haven't been able to really, exercise the way I used to for like a year and a half now. Just empathize. Yeah, for me, maybe it's arguably more important, right? Because I can get pretty frail in a hurry, Once you lose it fast. I definitely this past year since the shoulder surgery, I felt like I've aged like 20 years. Jan is an inspiration. I love it. It was great talking. And I really loved your remarks. That was
Thank you.
super.
I had to kind of keep it a little light-hearted, or else I was just going to cry through the whole thing.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I could have told so many more stories. Dalton was supposed to read her obituary, which had more stories in it, but he forgot.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Leave something for independent study of faith.
Yeah, well, there was two versions. So I wrote an obituary.
I really loved listening to what you had to say about Nestle.
And then they said
He did work together. We really did. Sit on the couch and talk a little bit, watch TV.
That's the long version.
Are you still driving?
Next weekend. Top bedrijvenstest. I had 2 rooms. Met de reddingtest, 2 rooms. The girl said, I see you when you are older. I think, I hope you are here.
Right?
That's awesome. I still drive, but I don't drive too much. Doctor told me not to drive too much. I get sometimes vertigo. And then met my road on the foot. You know, you don't know how to push the pedal too much.
Yeah, right.
And now I drove over here.
Do you drive at night ever?
I drive to the bowling alley, and the bowling alley is about a mile and a half, about a mile for the, you know.
You got the record in bowling, right?
Yeah.
I heard about it.
I had a 209 last week. I had a 209. And the week before I had 200.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I bowl twice a week.
On Tuesday night, just like a couple of days ago, no, Monday night, I went bowling for the first time since I was probably like in 8th grade or something like that. And you know,
what'd you get?
I got a 153.
Wow. There you go. Jan crushed you.
You know, but I figured, well, that's not terrible, right?
Great.
I figured he'd appreciate this guy bowled a 209. You know, I was pretty proud of that.
Even the time you got crushed in your life,
What is your highest game, Jan?
The highest game was 244.
Wow.
And it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I had a trophy for that.
Like in your early 90s.
Earlier than that.
Earlier.
I've been bowling for 40 years. Well, I'm glad. Good exercise.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The mom told me always when I was bowling, how you did? Is you doing all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then your dog came in always, you know.
Yeah. Come in and check in, that's right. That's right. It's a very nice speech. Very good speech. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so glad you two connected.
Well read.
Well read. I just had to read somebody else. But that is such fate that you guys live right next door to each other, you and Nestle.
I couldn't believe it when your wife came in, booing Nestle in. I met last year and she said, we got it been here in Dutch. How are you, sir?
Yeah.
You know. And, oh my God. And all the Dutchmen.
Yeah. So amazing.
Amazing that after so many years, you know, we met some Dutch. We're born in the same country.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we really good together.
Yeah.
I love the game.
Yeah.
You recognize him anywhere.
So great.
And I'm mostly games, you know, sports.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she called me, you are here, and that really, the words are on.
Watch the game.
The game is on there.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You're doing something.
Yeah.
Leave on the coast, you know.
Yeah.
Leave on the coast, I tell you. Oh, my, I have all this fun. Did you see that? You're supposed to do that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The family makes good food, right?
Yeah. You did a good job. Good job. We'll see you on Sunday. Right? Yeah, we'll come get you. Come get you.
I have the driver's license and I can drive more than 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah. Now we'll come get you.
Yeah, I still got the car. The bowling alley is too heavy for the bowling alley on your nugget. And then go bowling. In Holland, when I play soccer, you know, we had to go to Germany with a bicycle.
Yeah.
And play soccer there, and then drive home with a bicycle again. Or we go to France or Italy, always with a bicycle, but we didn't have a car in there.
Yeah, that is crazy. So wild.
He likes the long hair.
Yeah.
I really mean it too. If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say anything.
Very cute.
No, I wanted to say a little more. It was starting to get to me a little bit, you know? I go, just play the harp and shut up, you know?
This bowling thing is my friend Todd. I was staying with him the first 2 days of his ski trip. He has a 2-lane bowling alley in his basement. That's great. I think it was there when he bought the house. But yeah, whoever built the house put in